the Russians are closer to achieving victory than they were when we last spoke. There's a reality on the ground that's inescapable. That it's just basic military math. When you have 1,000 artillery pieces on one side and 100 artillery pieces on the other side, the 1,000's going to win every single time, and that's what's happening. The Russians are overwhelming the Ukrainian defenders. Even those well-trained, well-equipped, well-led units don't stand a chance. The Russians are going very slow, very deliberately by the book, and they're just grinding the Ukrainians down. And I think everybody who looks at this realizes that this isn't the case. Let's look at what the U.S. is doing. When we first started, we were just sending in javelins, stingers, and some light anti-tank weapons because I don't think anybody expected the Ukrainians to last this long. Had they expected the Ukrainians to last this long, they would have front-loaded this with artillery, with tanks, with armored vehicles, all the things they're bringing in now. But none of the stuff they're bringing in now is going to make it to the front intact. I mean, 100 pieces might make it, but 100 tanks, no. 72 artillery pieces, no. So the goal right now isn't a Ukrainian victory. The goal is to bleed Russia, because there's part two to Austin's statement. They want to make Russia weaker so they can't do this again. So they can't repeat a Ukrainian victory. I mean, I know Blinken is talking about, Ukraine's already suffered a strategic defeat. That's just hot air. Russia suffered a strategic defeat. Russia's won this thing. It's game over. I think the goal of the U.S. right now is to inflict enough of a cost on Russia that they, for instance, wouldn't be able to do the same thing against Finland later this summer when Finland seeks to join NATO, or if Russia is successful in linking up with the Transnistria region in Moldova to move on into Moldova, although Russia has no intent of doing this. I think that's the goal, is to weaken Russia so they can't replicate the victory that they're achieving on the ground in Ukraine as we speak.
Are we, I guess what you're saying, Scott, is we're prolonging the inevitable. And by the introduction of military hardware, whether it's new, used, or old, we'll get to that in a minute, we're prolonging the inevitable and thus allowing more Ukraine soldiers and even sadder, Ukraine civilians to die. And that if we hadn't been supplying the military hardware, the Russians would have marched in and there would have been far fewer deaths. Is that a fair summary of your argument?
Absolutely. Look, what's happening right now in Ukraine is murder, plain and simple. It's murder. It's no longer a stand-up fight. Look, war is hell, and war is about death. I call war organized murder. When you have two teams going at it, they're going to land punches, and combat punches mean dead people, wounded people, and a lot of the times it means dead civilians, wounded civilians, because they're stuck in the middle. But it's a fight. I call it organized murder because both sides are going at it, with lethal capability. What's happening right now is very one-sided, and there's no way what the United States is doing can bring the Ukrainians up so that it's back to being close to a fair fight. This is a one-sided match. It's murder, pure and simple. Every Ukrainian soldier we're training to use an American artillery piece will die in combat. That's a guaranteed outcome. There's no military math that can change this. The same thing with every Ukrainian soldier training to drive a Polish tank or an East German armored fighting vehicle. They are going to die. Well, I would tell the president of Ukraine that Russia just announced that they're extending this operation to seize all of southern Ukraine up to Odessa and connecting with Transnistria, that you're about to lose all access to the sea. Right now, it's not a reality. Right now, perhaps if you surrendered and you ended this war and you guaranteed the neutrality of NATO and you guaranteed that you would denazify, that maybe Russia would be willing to stop this war, only taking Crimea, only taking the Donbass, maybe keeping Mariupol, but you would still get the majority of your country intact, and you would save the lives of tens of thousands of your soldiers and tens of thousands of your civilians. That to continue this war is guaranteed defeat, and you're going to guarantee yourself the loss of territorial integrity and the loss of thousands of your citizens. If you're a good Ukrainian leader, you care about your people, pick up the phone, call Putin, end this right now.